Live from Fairlawn Church in Fort Pierce, Florida, you are joining Mark Aycock and Jimmy Lloyd in the lobby.
All right, welcome to In the Lobby. I am Pastor Jimmy, and I am sitting here with
Pastor Mark. How are you guys doing?
They can't answer. We can't hear them when they answer.
I hope you guys are doing well.
All right, yeah, that's better. Well, how are you doing, Pastor Mark? How's things going?
They can answer. They can just join us. You know, as
put it in the comments.
As the lobby is filling up.
Yeah,
you know,
I like that.
They can say we're doing fine. Thank you for asking, making us feel like we are a part of what you're doing here. So, yeah, I think it's appropriate to ask, how are you guys doing tonight? We love you guys.
Maybe we should start doing a segment. It's like, hey, guys, as we're starting off, just come into the lobby, make yourself at home, have a seat, go to the fridge, you know, get a bowl of cheese.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah.
A bowl of cheese.
Yeah, a bowl of cheese. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what is in my refrigerator. The Lloyds love cheese.
Right.
So, yeah.
Bowl of cheese.
Sometimes we'll just go get a bowl of cheese.
Right. Save on toilet paper that way, that's for sure.
Yeah, we eat so much that don't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just. Yep. Anyways, so how's things been going this week? You've been having a good week?
I've been having a great week so far. Just spending a lot of time with Jesus. I have to. I really do. Personally speaking, I've got to spend a lot of time with Jesus. You guys see the guy who spent time with Jesus. You don't get to see the other guy that has to constantly fight off politics, and the guy who's constantly got to, bring a level-headed kind of approach to politics, and someone who has this hypocrisy button in them when they see people just doing things that aren't right. I feel like I have to call them out, things of that nature. The Lord's worked on that. He's delivered me from a lot of that. But, yeah, it gets tough unless you are spending time with the Lord. So I just like the guy who spends a lot of time with the Lord because I don't have to be that other guy.
Yeah. They get to see that guy that does. Like I sometimes see that other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And everything he gets, he deserves. So, yep. Just ask him.
Is that like a fist pump? Like whatever he gets, like he deserves it. So like you're fist pumping everybody? Like, yeah, that's right.
No, that was you're going to get the fist. That wasn't the fist pump. Yeah. This is my MMA profile.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah? You got an MMA profile?
I do have an MMA profile. I sure do.
All right.
I spent many years. Look it up. Tim Manning out of Blacksburg, Virginia. Tim Manning. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Spent many, many, many years training underneath Manning.
No. I thought that
Jiu-Jitsu.
was maybe that was your UFC name, like you had a different name. Like
No. And we studied underneath Hoist Gracie. And I spent some time in the ring and out of the ring, and
but you actually got a profile, like we could go there and it actually show a picture of you, like you're with your shirt off, like doing this.
Yeah. Back before there was, internet profile. Sure. Yep. Got one.
Yeah.
Yep. Got pictures of it. Got everything. Yep. But no, would you find that online right now? Social media? No. It was before that.
No, that's very convenient.
It is very convenient.
Yeah. I could picture you like with like a Hulkamania shirt, like ripping it off like that.
No, that's not what we did. No. Yeah, no Hulkamania in there. You get choked out if you came in there acting like Ric
Are you
Flair.
sure, brother?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
All right.
Positive.
Okay. I mean, it's not as exciting.
Yep.
I'm more of like the Hulkamania.
Right.
Little Warriors.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, your
Macho Madness.
Vitamins.
Yeah.
Prayers.
Yeah. He's what he used to say is training, saying your prayers and eating your vitamins. That's what it is. I've been training, saying my prayers and eating my vitamins, brother. Yeah, that's what it does. So.
Yeah, watch buying, jet plane riding.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the Nature Boy.
Yeah.
So two totally different guys.
Yeah,
so don't
same school, though. Yep.
I don't know that they went to the same school. Hulk Hogan's from Minneapolis, and the Nature Boy is from North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Charlotte, yeah.
I just was talking about the same school of theatrics.
Oh, Nature Boy is way better than Hulkamania.
Drama.
Yeah,
Drama school.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool. I should have been a wrestler. I'd have made it.
What would your name
really
be?
Good.
What would your name have been? Everybody, help us out in the comments, please. Anybody who's listening, let's think of a good name for Pastor Jimmy if he would have pursued a career in what? WWF?
Yeah, WWE now. I think
WWE,
every time
right?
you say WWF, they.
But that's the
Bill
era that
Wildlife
you would have been in, right?
Just to sue them, so I think we just cost WWE money every time we say WWF.
Okay, well, WWF era,
Yeah.
but now WWE to be
WCW.
correct.
NWA.
What do you think a good wrestling name for Pastor Jimmy would have been? I mean, just throw them out there. What do you think one of your...
I think I would have probably had several because I would have probably they would have had bidding wars against me, WCW, WWE, and WA,
yeah.
like there would be bidding wars going on. So
Contractually, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yes.
and they would. So what would happen is they one couldn't use the name on the other one. So one, I thought of this before, and the Big Jimboski.
The Big Jimboski.
The Big Jimboski would be one of them.
Now, that would have definitely been a early 90s
Yeah.
name. That would have fit
They
in with
would have
the
all been in the
WWF.
90s. Yeah,
Yeah,
all
that
been
would have
90s.
fit in then.
Yeah.
The Big Jimboski.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then maybe before that, Hot Stuff, Jimmy Lloyd. Because back in the day, one of my favorite wrestlers was Hot Stuff, Eddie Gilbert. So I would probably have copied his name at some point.
Do you think you would have copied the spandex with your face on the back like Rick Rude and did the little
Yes.
dance for the ladies?
I would have definitely sported some spandex.
Yeah.
For sure, if I would have been able to do that. I would have probably went with more of the Sting type leg
Oh,
than the
okay.
shorts, the little shorts like
Right.
Hogan wore. I would have had a hard time with that. Yeah, so I would have probably wore more of the spandex pants, or maybe like the onesie, like with the like
onesie.
Kurt Hennig wore.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Perfect.
I know who he is.
Yeah, so I would probably do something like that. Yeah, I don't know. They would have probably tried to put the Big Jimboski in overalls like Hillbilly Jim, and I would have said no. I'm not doing that. I would have turned that down.
I'm seeing a picture of Vader when I think overalls for some reason.
Vader, he didn't wear
Yeah.
overalls. He had that big.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't. He had the big elephant thing. Overalls are like what Hillbilly Jim had. Vader had the.
He had
like,
spandex overalls.
They
yes,
weren't.
he did.
That's the same thing as Kurt Hennig had.
Yeah, so that's what I call spandex overalls.
They're
You're
not-
calling
they're not.
literal overalls like the hillbilly?
Yeah, like Hillbilly Jim wore.
Oh, you're talking literal
Yes.
overalls. Okay, now you
All
would have
right,
had that for the Big Jimboski.
They would have tried to do it.
Okay.
And I would have said no, and I would have had made sure that it was in the contract that no overalls, because I knew they would. That's the route they would go. Yeah, Vince would have definitely tried to put overalls on the Big Jimboski. I could just see it.
Yeah. What part do you think you would have focused on most in the gym?
In the gym?
Mm-hmm.
No, the same thing I focus on now, my arms, man. It's all about the arms.
Oh,
the
yeah.
guns.
The guns.
Yeah, the 24-inch pythons.
Don't matter if you're shaped like a bell around the waist or not. Just it's all about the guns.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
right.
What you gonna do, brother?
Yeah.
24-inch pythons come after you.
Right.
That's yeah. So yeah,
Right. Would
for
you
sure.
have grown a beard, a long beard, like Jim the Anvil, like the animal?
No, I would have went clean cut. Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I would have had a mullet, no doubt.
I'm trying to picture this guy right now. It's tough.
Yeah, maybe you have a drawing. Maybe somebody wants to do a drawing. Maybe we'll have a drawing contest of the
Right.
Big Jimboski.
Yeah. Now,
So-
how tall are you?
5'9.5".
5'9.5".
Yes.
And how big are your? Because we know Hogan's are 42 inches. No, 24
24-inch pythons.
24-inch pythons. What in your even in your prime? What do you think yours could have got?
Oh,
to?
they were probably like maybe 23.5 inches. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, something like that.
Wow. Lord,
I mean, nobody's measuring.
forgive us.
You
Forgive
know,
him.
I'm
Right.
my memory. Like
Yeah.
23, probably 23.5. I mean, they're close to 24, but
So 5'8.5", and
no,
23
5'9.5".
Oh, so 5'9" and 23.75" python.
Yeah, they probably got to 3/4
Maybe 7/8. You're
possibility.
just being modest.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah, I don't. You know.
Yeah.
It's not about me, guys.
No. Okay. That's a little bit about us. Glad you guys got to tune into that.
Yeah. There you go. All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
All right.
Put it in the lobby. No, we still got some time here, I think. So
What are we
for
talking about
Bible.
today? What are we excited to talk about today? Because we are excited that you guys are tuning in and that you're listening to this and that you're with us and that you're going on this journey with us. We are totally excited about that. So what's the topic today?
So we always talk about different topics. Last week we said there's a possibility because at the end of it we hit on jealousy, and I think that's still probably going to be something we eventually do. And I know you've been wanting to do a podcast on giants, and I don't know, they haven't been, relevant for a while, because
Right.
since Eli Manning fell off. But
Excuse me.
then one thing that we kind of started talking about, and I did mention it, it definitely wasn't the subject. I did mention the Sabbath in my message this past Sunday, but we just went to a pastor's luncheon, and that was kind of the main subject of it. And then you and I started talking about it, and so thought, hey, you know what? Why don't we talk about the Sabbath? Maybe a lot of people have questions about that. I know I do. This is what I get a lot when it comes to the Sabbath. Pastor Jimmy, is the Sabbath, is it on Sunday, or is the Sabbath supposed to be on Saturday? And I get that a lot. I have that. I don't know if you do. I get that question.
I just got it last week.
Did you? Yeah. So people will do that, and then actually, what are we supposed to do on the Sabbath? What are we not supposed to do? So I think a lot of people have questions about it, and if you guys do have questions, please put them in the comment section, and we'll try to get to those. And, that's one thing we've really have been asking a lot of people for is questions. Put questions about this podcast, or even ideas for the next podcast, things like that. But so we wanted to talk about this, and I mentioned it. I mentioned Exodus chapter 35, 1 and 2, and I wasn't really addressing the Sabbath. I was more addressing the law. But one thing that is very interesting to me is back in Exodus, God giving God gave Moses these laws, and Moses is talking about and he's saying for 6 days. This is in Exodus chapter 35, verse 2. For 6 days work is to be done, but the seventh day shall be your holy day, a day of Sabbath rest to the Lord. Whoever does any work on it is to be put to death. So you do work on the Sabbath, you're to be put to death. Seems pretty harsh. I don't know what you think, but to me, kind of seems harsh, being put to death on the Sabbath, which back then it was you either going to be stoned, you could be strangled, you could be beheaded. These are different ways that people would be put to death when they broke different laws, different stuff like that. So, but we are not under the law. That's the Old Testament law. So, being in New Testament church and that, what do you have to say about the Sabbath? What is it? What is it Saturday? Is it Sunday? What should we do? What are we supposed to do? Any input?
Well, I think that if you look at it through the Mosaic law, through them set of perspectives, then if you keep that, then you have to keep the whole law, right? Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all 613 of them, I think is what it is. I can't remember roughly.
That's right.
Like that.
So how does that apply to today is the question. And one of the big things is that Sabbath means, to rest. And so how are we to rest? What does that look like for us? And there's actually principles in the Old Testament. This is another trail to go down at some point, but there's principles in the Old Testament concerning the ground, that you could only work the ground and till the ground for 6 years. The seventh year, you had to leave the ground alone, and you had to let it rest for one whole year. And then at the end of that 7 year, when you went back to tilling your ground for the next 7 years, it would produce double, right? So there's a principle there. And, there's a principle, us being humans, that we need to rest, right? Or we're flat on our back. If we don't rest, then we are susceptible to what? illnesses,
All right.
disease, right? Sickness, injury,
Mm-hmm.
right? We could hurt ourselves, lack of sleep. So rest is a necessity for us. And here's another thing that's very interesting. What are we made out of? What did the Lord make us out of?
Out of dirt. The ground.
Okay. Now what needed to be rested?
The ground.
The ground.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, isn't it? So it's very interesting. That's another little rabbit hole that we can go into about rest. So rest is definitely a big principle in our life. But now, how does it apply into the New Testament? How do we look at it now after the cross? Is probably the big question.
Right.
So I don't know if you guys want to turn to Hebrews 4, and we can kind of put it in context and start reading. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm already there. Look at there. My Bible's already
Wow.
turned to Hebrews chapter 4. Imagine that.
All right. Therefore, we must fear if while a promise remains of entering his rest. Context right there. His rest, not our rest.
Right.
His, capital H, Jesus' rest. Any one of you may seem to have come short of it. For indeed, we have had good news preached to us, just as they also did. Now, when he says they also did, that's Old Testament. That's Moses. That's them that never made it into the promised land. But the word they heard did not benefit them because they were not united with those who listened with, another key word, faith. Wow. So here we go. It's talking about benefits. It's talking about we're supposed to enter into his rest, so it has something to do with Christ. There's benefits available to us, and the only way to receive these benefits, the author here is talking about, is through faith. So there's a generation that is supposed to do everything based on faith, and then there was a generation that did everything based on the law.
Right.
All right? So he's making this distinction here. The generation that had the Sabbath concerning legally and what they had to do has passed away and could never enter in to this agreement and these benefits with God because they were not the faith generation. They were the just, hey, I better do it generation.
Right.
And that's the point he's making here. For verse 3, for we who have believed enter that rest, just as he has said, as I swore in my anger, they certainly shall not enter my rest. Although his works were finished, here it is, from the foundation of the world, for he has said somewhere concerning the seventh day, and God rested on the seventh day from all his works. So what is it telling us about this works here? You know, that it's not what? It's not a physical thing.
Okay. What is it?
It's not a physical thing that you do.
Okay.
All right? So, therefore, since it remains for some to enter in, and those who previously had good news preached to them failed to enter because of disobedience, he again sets a certain day today. It's for now, saying through David after so long a time, just as has been said before, today, if you hear my voice, do not harden your hearts. And he goes on to talk about it. I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but he goes on to talk about, you know, what it is. What is it today?
So
What do you
do-
think it is today?
So so this is what I'm saying, or are you saying it, or you're not saying that? What I'm supposed to do all day is just watch Netflix and chill. Is that what you're saying? No.
No.
Okay. All right. So it's not saying that, or it's not saying I'm supposed to just sit around and do nothing. Or do I supposed to pick a day where I don't do anything? So it's So when you're saying it's not an actual thing I do, then what is it?
Well,
And how do I do it? If it's not an actual thing I do, then how do I do it?
I'm in 5. Let's see here. Pause for 1 second. Hebrews 4. Hebrews 4:9. I'm going to take you there.
Okay.
It says here, and Paul uses this word. Check this out. This is the only place in all of Scripture that this word is used. The only place. He says, consequently, there remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God. Wow. What is the word there he uses for Sabbath is not like you would think he normally used. He used the word sabbatismos. Okay? So sabbatismos is a Greek word that means like a perpetual rest in Christ. It means that like spending time perpetually being in Christ continually 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, resting in him spiritually. That's what that means. Through what? Through faith. And Paul uses this word. And when you look up the word in the Greek, it says to repose of Christianity. And I got to looking at that repose of Christianity, and I started to look and define the word repose. And repose means a state of tranquility, a state of freedom from worry, anxiety, trust, confidence, a state of sleep. So this is an ongoing thing. There is no time on a state of tranquility, is there? Is there a time on that? Limit on that? Is it one day? Can you be tranquil? Can you experience tranquility as long as you want to? Let's just say if the environment was set up for you to experience peace and quiet, as long as you stayed there, you would receive what? Peace and quiet. There would be no time limit on it. But there was a time limit on it in the Old Testament, right?
Yeah, I just figured it was until my kids got home from school. I thought that's what it was. Well, with this, and I thought repose was like, like when I posed for a picture, and then like they said, can you pose again for me? We didn't get that. And I was like, all right. Like, I thought that was repose, like when I posed again. No.
No.
No. Confused. I'm lost.
It's crazy, isn't it?
So I don't know. I'm a little confused with that. So
let's talk it out.
If the Sabbath is supposed to be a time of rest, and I'm working. I got a job. I got to go. I got to pay the bills. So we got to go and work and stuff. How am I going to rest when I'm working?
Okay.
How do I rest? How am I resting when I got to take care of my kids? How do I rest when I got to go out and mow the grass? How am I going to rest when I got to keep telling Brandon what to do and what not to do? Brandon, don't put that pencil in that light socket. So, what? So how do I do that?
How do you do
you're saying
it?
it's just supposed to be a constant thing.
Yeah.
Well, who does that? Like, who's constantly resting?
Okay.
So.
Do you have a flesh side? Do you have a spiritual side and a flesh side? 1 Thessalonians 5:23. Okay. So you have flesh and you have spirit. All right. So if you're in the flesh, Galatians 5 tells us what the characteristics and the natures of the flesh are: anger, bitterness, self-envy, drunkenness, right? Sensuality, factions. These are all things in the flesh. So if you're in the flesh and you're trying to do these things in the flesh, take care of Brandon, take care of your kids, you're obviously not going to be resting.
Right.
But if you're in the spirit of things when you're taking care of your kids, when you're addressing Brandon, when you're addressing your home life, when you get up in the morning and you spend that time and you soak your spirit in the presence of God, then guess what? Dealing with Brandon becomes easy. Dealing with your wife becomes no problem. Dealing with your kids becomes simple. The wisdom of God, the favor of God is on you, and everything is being an authority figure of your kids flows down to them, and yet here they are behaving, and here they are doing what's right because you just spent time with the Lord and you soaked your spirit in His presence. It's emanating off of you, so therefore you rest. You're resting in the Lord, and it's a perpetual rest. You do it throughout the day. Have you ever prayed all day long and thought in your head about different things and what was going on and prayed to the Lord and had conversations throughout the day with God? That's a perpetual resting in Him through Christ, through faith. It's not now a physical thing to where you have to go and take a day off and kick your feet up and lock your wife and lock your kids out and sit in a room by yourself and you can't pick one thing up.
Did you just say you lock up your wife?
And kids, yes.
Okay. All right. Somebody might want to go check on Heather and the kids.
I know. They're locked up right now.
So just saying that. But so it is, and which that that brings me to this. It just kind of reminded me of it. Used to have as a pastor friend of mine. I actually haven't seen him in a while, but I remember he'd always tell me, when I first got into ministry, is you listen to a lot of pastors talk, and you listen to a lot of people in ministry talk, and you hear this constant tone, this constant subject come up, or this topic of I'm tired, I need a vacation, I need time off, I need sabbatical or whatever, and you hear that. And this friend of mine, what he would tell me is, anytime you hear that, that is right there, that's that red flag, or that person, that pastor, that person in ministry is not spending that time with God that they're supposed to. They're not spending that alone time with Jesus. They're not, because they've gotten so caught up in the church work, or so caught up in things going on within the congregation or members or whatever. So because of that, they're just exhausted, and they are burnt out, and so that reminded me of it. I actually haven't thought of that conversation in a while, but he used to say that a lot, is because we would hear that, going through ministry together, we would hear that a lot, is I just feel burnt out, or I feel tired, I need a vacation, I need a vacation, I need a vacation, I need time off, I need this or that. And so kind of goes in line with what you're talking about. And a lot of times, though, I know I've done it, I've been guilty of it, doing God's work, or doing ministry, or doing involved in the church. It's like you start hustling or striving, or however how you want to say it, and it's like, okay, I got to get this done, I got to get that done, I got to do this, I got to do that, and then all of a sudden it's like you haven't spent any time with God, but you're doing what you consider godly work, and you are exhausted.
From what age to what age do you think that you had a physical prime?
I would say probably from the age of 5 to 43.
Okay. Realistically, what age?
Truthfully, if you would say, so this is, I'm going to just
physically.
right now, right now, I would say that this is physically in my prime. Probably early 30s.
Okay, early 30s. So you're saying that the best physical shape, not mental, not where you were at in life, best physical shape was early 30s.
Yes.
Okay, but there's a shelf life on that.
Right.
Right? That's basically for everybody, right? It's the same thing when operating in the flesh. There's a shelf life. You can only do so much.
Right.
And then it expires.
Mm-hmm.
You fail. You fall. You get angry. You get mad. You need a break. You want to check out. Yeah. You want to find something else to invest your time in. You're burnt out. You're committing suicide. You're jumping off of a cliff. You are, because you don't know how to process and rest perpetually in the Lord through faith, because it's set aside for the believers now,
right?
For the ones who are in faith now. How are you saved? By faith. Mm-hmm. You believe you're saved through faith. Right. How do you enter the rest? Through faith. How do you walk in the Spirit? Through faith. Everything is done through faith and through the Spirit of God. Now, when you're operating in the Spirit of God, there's what? Peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control, right? Love. All these things are generated when you're walking in the Spirit. That's what makes everything so easy and so light. And that takes us to Matthew 11:30. Well, 28, really. Matthew 11:27 through 30. And it says, "Come to me, all who are weary, all who are burdened, and I will give you rest." The word there for burden it's fortizo, and it means to load up. We talked about that today. Maintain, what was it called? Load what? In the pastor's meeting? It was
I used to
maintaining load out, or it was an MBA term. Load management. We talked about load management today in our cohort pastors meeting, right? And load management. And it actually means, come to me, all who are weary and burdensome. And that word in the Greek means to load up, to be loaded up. And and where it talks about here, and I will give you rest, it means this is another word. It's not sabbatismos, which means perpetual, but this is another word that means that you are exempt. This word for rest in 28 means you are exempt. It means to take it easy. You are exempt from physically, fleshly laboring. You are exempt. So when you are in the Spirit, things are easy and light. You will find rest for your souls. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. So that's what I'm trying to tell people. When you're operating in that grace of God, things are effortlessly done. Everything runs smooth. It's like, have you ever went from like on a trip and then all of a sudden you notice you've caught every green light from one end of the city to the other end of the city, and you're just like, this is crazy. I'm just in that spot. It's happened to me. Mm-hmm. And everything was just so smooth. I wasn't stopping every 2 miles or every half mile or every quarter mile and catching a light. You know, it's kind of like that. Everything just flows effortlessly in that place.
So I mean, I'll say, so I noticed a lot of times with me, and I've talked to Julie about it, is usually when I'm starting to get all these roadblocks coming in the way, when just things, it's like, all right, I could force this thing to happen, or I could just, and I've noticed a lot of times when it's coming, something that I've had to force to happen or forced to make, or it ends up blowing up in my face, and then when things kind of just, when it's the right thing, everything kind of falls into place. Now, in saying that, how about, I've heard it a lot, it's like, people just say, nothing ever falls into place for me. Nothing ever works out for me. Nothing ever, and I think a lot of that has to do with we remember the hard times more than we remember when things have been easy. But what would you say to then if the people that are watching this and they're like, I spend time in prayer. I spend time reading the Bible. I spend time, I'm in church. I turn on praise and worship music. But I am always tired. It's like nothing's working out for me. Everything is just falling apart. What would you say to someone that is saying that right now?
I would say that you need a new direction.
Okay.
I would say that it's not about the spending time with the Lord. I would say that at that point, everything that you're applying yourself to is falling apart. Is that what you're saying? Everything?
Yeah, sometimes, you hear that. They're like, just everything, if someone's thinking that, yes.
Yeah, well, there's seasons, and there's seasons that everything, and I believe this, that everything is given to you, and there's seasons where you hear nothing and nothing is going right, and you have to, from a seated position, not a fighting position, but from a seated position, you have to take what is yours from the heavens, from a seated position. And what that means is that the kingdom of God suffers violent, and violent men take that by force. That the things that were promised to you, the things that you need to go forth in life, you need to get up and you need to declare them from a seated position, not a warring position or I'm going to fight somebody position, but from a king's child's mindset of who you are. And in that, you're going to grow. In that, you're going to receive or you're not going to receive. In that, you're going to figure out, chase your tail, and you're going to grow. You're going to fail. You're going to mature. So those seasons are necessary, very necessary. But just don't stay there. If you're telling me you've been there for the last 15 years, I think we got some issues going on. You know what I mean? So
does that mean, though, then, okay, something, I've been doing this, I've been reading the Word, I've been and spent time, my Jesus time, all that, and, okay, if something goes wrong, or doesn't go how I pictured it in my mind, then it's time for me to switch to a different church. It's time for me to get a new job. It's time for me to trade in my car for something else. Is that what you're saying?
no.
Okay.
I don't understand the
I
analogy
was setting
there.
you up for that, for you to say no. Yeah, I wasn't thinking. I was just saying, if that's, so sometimes with that, you're saying if this is how it's been,
Right.
and it's time for you to, maybe look at what you're doing and stuff. So
Yeah.
what happens a lot of times, though, on the flip side of that is something doesn't go right or how we had it planned, and now it's like, well, I guess I'm not on the right road. I guess I'm not going in the right direction. I mean,
No.
maybe it's time for me to switch to a different church. Maybe it's time for me to change scenery. Maybe I need to move to like Houston.
No.
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 So if things
Wrong.
don't go right, and I walk outside after this podcast, and I trip and I skin my knee, that don't mean I'm supposed to move to Charleston, South Carolina?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's not. You want me to get scriptural and then give you an analogy?
How about like Farmington, New Mexico? Did you move there?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I need to move to Farmington.
Yep. All right. So it is in 3 John 1. And it says this, 1 and 2. Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you as your soul prospers, you will prosper. Let's get out of the NIV and read it from a New American Standard point of view. Here we go. Beloved, I pray that in all respects you may prosper and be in good health just as your soul prospers, okay? So you're talking about things aren't going right, and then all of a sudden, vocationally, whatever, what does it go back to? Fleshly, you're wanting to what? Make changes. Go to a different church. Buy a different vehicle. Quit your job. Go somewhere else. Fleshly, no. Everything starts in the mind and in the heart. So you got to get your mind right. A renewing of the mind. No, if you're finding yourself 10 years later in the same pothole, it's because your mind isn't renewed. Your heart has not changed. You're still in the same place in your stinking thinking and the decisions that you're making, and your heart is still in a hardened place. The Bible says, as your soul prospers, you then physically will prosper. So it's the heart and the mind, which is part of the soul, that first. Physical, vocation, things on the outside will come after you make the change on the inside. It's always with God. It's always inside first, outside second. Never the other way around. Things aren't going my way. I need a change. Let's just change outside first and not deal with the inside. So no, absolutely not. It's a big no bomb.
Right. And a lot of times when you change on the outside, when that's what you're focused on, you'll get that, that new car high, whatever, until you get, until you get that payment. So you fill that, that tank up for the first time, and it's $3.19 a gallon or whatever, and because at the moment, because a lot of times that's what we're looking for, is that like instant gratification, that instant, and we say instant high, but there's not necessarily going to drugs or something. Sometimes that may be the issue, but there's these different things where it's like, what makes me feel good right now? That's why people get addicted to shopping and whatever, eating. It's like that instant gratification. A lot of times we go for that, and it's like, well, things aren't going right, then this is what I need to change. This is what I need to do. And you see that. You see people that are just, they never stay planted anywhere because they're just, as soon as something goes wrong, or as soon as they get an argument with somebody, well, that person's not supposed to be in my life then. And then they just jump from one thing to the other. And all of a sudden it's like, boom, you're right back having the same problems, just in a different town, or just with a different car, or just in a different church. And unless you find a church where it's just you're the only person in that church, probably going to have some issues. Probably going to have issues even if you are the only person. It's like, man, people are just talking about me in my church. What church you go to? Oh, it's just me. So, but a lot of times that's what we think is, we go for that. Things aren't going right, so I need to change. And, we see that, Paul and Silas in Acts, they get thrown in prison for preaching the gospel, actually thrown in prison for setting up. It's crazy. They get put in prison for setting somebody free. They set this ladies, they cast a demon out of her, and she's set free. They get put in prison for it. Earthquake comes. They crashes the prison down. And they still stay right there. And it's it's remarkable to me that we are always, whenever we're going through stuff, we want to change all these outside things, and really we don't change anything because on the inside it's the same. So I think that happens a lot of times.
Do you know ministers perhaps like that?
I know people like that. I'll go a step farther and say I've known myself to be like that before. I've been in that where it's like, oh my gosh, this isn't going right. Oh my gosh, nobody's laughing at my jokes, so I must be supposed to preach somewhere else. I'm just kidding. That never happens. Everybody always laughs at my jokes. I'm just joking. That would be ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, I've had that where it's like, man, nothing's going right, and my first thought is start changing the things around me, and really that's not. Yeah, instead of what's inside of me. So I try to change the venue, not what's in you. I just came up with that right then. I'm like a poet.
Wow.
It's very, yeah.
And didn't know it.
I mean, I can make a rhyme anytime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Venue.
So.
And what's been put in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I'm sure Brandon's just like blown away with these words of wisdom. I think he's sleeping.
Yeah.
So.
You awake, Brandon? Okay.
All right. It is, yeah. There. So. But yeah, so I think it does happen a lot of times. And so does that mean I'm supposed to constantly just be on the go? Like what am I supposed to do then? If the Sabbath is not an actual thing I do, it's kind of state of mind.
I think it all boils down to understanding your identity. We could take a different vein in this main vein that we're talking about here, and it would be under the title of needs. And we are all created with needs. We got a need for purpose, we got a need for love, we got a need for security, we got a need for worth. So if you just pick one of those, let's just pick purpose. Right? It's one of the easiest ones to talk about, purpose. You go and you watch how kids have been programmed to, from the time they're born, they're programmed, go to school, come home. Go to high school, come home. Go to college, get a degree, come home, because your purpose is going to be whatever it is you decide to major in college. And then you watch these kids graduate college, and then they can't find the job that for the last 15 years or 16 years, that's been their identity. The purpose in their identity is not Jesus. Their purpose was whatever it is they picked from all this time, and they've been programmed by parents and world and our society telling them, this is your purpose. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to be a lawyer. You're going to be a janitor. You're going to be a plumber. You're going to be an electrician. Whatever it is they go to school for, and they get out, and then imagine they cannot get that job. They cannot get it, and their identity starts to get rocked. And they're working at McDonald's when they have student loan, $30,000 in student loan, and they're working at McDonald's or Lowe's or Home Depot or somewhere when they've got a 6-year college degree, they've got an 8-year college degree, and all this college debt, and no one's accepting them, and they're starting to panic, they're starting to shake, they're starting to get, just anxious and fearful, and they're making bad decisions now. Now they've been hurt and wounded by it so bad that now they're going to go out and drink to numb the pain. Yeah. They're going to go out and smoke something to numb the pain, because that pain is painful because they can't even measure up to what they've been programmed to do. And when the Bible says, Jeremiah 29:11 says, for I know the plans I have for you to give you a future, and give you hope, to give you purpose in life. God has already ordained a purpose in your life. And instead of us teaching this to our kids, there's nothing wrong with them going to school, But what they got to understand is that there's a heavenly Father that's already, from the beginning of time, laid out a purpose for them. School is fine. Go to school, get an education, but let the purpose be rooted in their heavenly Father. So it will never be shaken. If college gets taken away from you, if school gets taken away from you, you're still grounded because you know your heavenly Father's got a purpose for you. You know what I mean? And your purpose isn't in school and becoming whatever it is. And you see them shake, and you see them starting to panic, and then everything else is introduced, and that's kind of what you're talking about when things aren't going their way.
Yeah.
Instead of resting in the Lord and knowing your identity and knowing who you are.
Yeah. And we see it all the time. I mean, people, if that is your identity, is, hey, I'm going to become a doctor, I'm going to become an attorney, I'm going, whatever it is. I've seen it where it's even a pastor. I mean, people that are called into ministry, they get wrapped up in that, even just being a pastor. So then when something happens and they have to leave a church or get voted out, whatever, their whole identity is wrapped up into that. And then it's like, well, screw it. That's what, and instead of it being biblical, or that your son or daughter or whatever. I mean, I've even seen it. People's identity get wrapped up in being a parent, being a mom or dad, and then when that kid is like, it comes against you or whatever, it's just like, well, I failed at life because my kid didn't do A, B, and C, and they just went off and out doing E or whatever, and then it's just like, well, I'm a failure. And then just screw it. It don't matter what I do. And, their identity get wrapped up in that. So I think we see that happen so often. And it's just easy to get wrapped up in that, not even realizing it.
How easy is it let's just use us as an example. We're transparent. Let's just throw it out there. How easy is it for me and you to get wrapped up in the identity of pastoring and taking care of people? Yeah. Okay. And then being a dad, spending time with our kids, and then we forget to be a husband.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we forget because we got so many other hats we're wearing, and we forget to be a husband when we should be a husband first.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we forget that, and then it causes issue and problems. But at the same time, instead of we wear these hats, and it's okay to wear these hats, but as long as our identity isn't in those things, our identity is in the Lord, securely in the Lord. Yeah. So that if I stop one day being a father, or stop one day being a pastor, or stop one day being a husband, I'm still secure in the Lord. I'm not rocked in that because that never was my identity. That was a hat I put on and a hat I took off.
Right.
Kids are an assignment from the Lord. That's all they are. They're a temporary assignment. Yeah. And then they move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
it is. It's a temporary thing, and then you just got to hand them over to God, and that's so hard to do when it's your kids, because that's probably, I know with me, that's probably where that little control button comes in more than anything else, because it's like, oh my gosh, they're going to make all the mistakes I made, and it's so then and it gets wrapped up with identity, and then when it don't go that way, it's like, man, I'm a failure, and I might as well just quit. What am I doing being a pastor, and I can't even get my kids to listen to me or whatever, it's just different things that come in, and then it's just like, well, I might as well just give up and get wrapped in that identity. It happens. It's happened to me several times. Sure, it's going to happen again. So, yeah, absolutely, and it is about getting those priorities right, and with your relationship with God being first, and then with that, there's a lot of times where it becomes my relationship with Julie, with my wife, is kind of just put over here, because it's like she's gonna leave me, where's she gonna find somebody as good looking as me, and it's funny as me, so she's not going anywhere, so just kind of put her over here, and then it's like, why is things just not going the way that it should be going, and it's my priorities are all messed up.
Yeah. There's, this brings me to another point. Can I go in another direction? You said priorities. Mm-hmm. How come you think people don't understand flow? Why don't they understand
Like they go from progressive?
Order.
No.
Order and the flow of order. Why do you think that is, that most people just don't get that? I mean, is it just lack of, they're not brought up to understand that? I mean, we've got to, if you think of it, the perfect example is the military, right? You have your generals down to your basic private, right? There's an order and there's a flow from the top down, right? There's a chain of command, and it's set up and it flows smooth this way. We have it in Scripture. There's an order in heaven. There's an order among the angels. God does nothing in disorder, so everything is done in heaven in order.
Right.
There's a chain of command in heaven. We see a chain of command, not for saying I'm better than you, but there's an order given from the apostle down to the pastor and teacher and evangelist. There's an order given, not saying that the evangelist, because he's third in the order, is less than the apostle, because he's not. That doesn't mean the apostle can boss the evangelist around. It's just simply stating everything's going to flow the best.
Right.
No hiccups.
Yeah.
When you put these guys in order like this, it's going to flow from heaven to earth. In the apostolic, fivefold, it's going to flow. So why is it that it's just not common knowledge? Why is it that we struggle when we run into people that are like, well, I didn't know I needed to check with that person or go through that protocol. Why? You know what? You got your protocols, and basically you're just trying to control everything. You're just trying to be a control freak and make me do all this extra stuff when all I need to do is just come in here and do what I want to do.
Yeah. I think a lot of that has to do, and I think that would actually make a really good podcast, is just that order, that chain of command, like explaining that. I think that is it hasn't been explained to a lot of people, hasn't been taught on a lot. I mean, I know it is taught on, but two, I think it comes back to, we talked about it last week in the podcast, is that mentality of, all right, I'm the main character of this story, and all these people around me, they're just the cast members, they're like extras, and we just get focused on us. And then it's like, man, everything's supposed to be centered around us. Everything is designed for us. I mean, I know, in this storyline, I'm helping this person, but it's still, I'm the main character. So, and then when all the attention is somewhere else, it's like, oh, no, that's not how it's supposed to go. So, if we're thinking about at that moment is what's going on with me. And I know as a young, I've talked about this a lot, as a young minister, as a youth pastor, I did that so much and never fully understood it until, becoming a senior pastor. And back when we started Blueprint, I started seeing it. But I remember in my early 20s being a youth pastor, and I'd put on a big youth service, have 100+ people, kids getting saved, all these teenagers getting saved. And then pastor comes in on Sunday, and he wants to chew me out, rip me a new one because I didn't put the microphone back. And I'm like, why do you care about a microphone? I didn't change the batteries in the microphone. I left the microphone on. Big deal, or whatever. I didn't, do that. You're not even going to say anything about the 100 kids that were there? Like, there's never been 100 kids here before. And it's just because I was just so focused on the ministry that I was doing, and I was like, oh, that's more important than all this other thing. And not even thinking, well, he don't know where the microphone is on Sunday. He's going to have to look around for it. This is the time that he could be in prayer, this time whatever. And he has to freak out about where the microphone is. And now you got to change the batteries because I left it on and all this stuff. So I think it's just we get so focused on our department and what's going on with us that we're not thinking about those that are around us. And I think it's because it's not taught as much.
Can you make a analogy for us, kind of, or do you think it's appropriate to say that we are Christians in seasons? Like, you can think back when we were toddlers, when we were kids, everything was basically like, this is like when we were kids in the Lord, brand new.
Right.
It seems like everything was kind of given to us. We were on fire, passionate, just things were kind of handed to us. And then we grew out of that stage into, we're going into like teenagers, and you can see where everything starts going from everything being given to us to everything just kind of we're cultivating and developing what we even like more. and how we're growing and where we're going, we're starting to kind of think about that, right? Mm-hmm. And then we get into late teens, 19, 20, and then it's still the focus and the intensity on that becomes even more about who we are in the Lord and what Daddy's saying about us and what God's saying about me and what the Scripture says about me and why this person came to church because what do they have for me? I go to church because they have something for me. When do you get out of that me mindset and grow into, when was the day basically that you came to church or you went into a ministry and said, you know what, none of this is about me, it's about everybody else? When did that light click on for you? What age were you? Can you remember when that happened? When you figured that out?
Yeah, it's probably like 38. I mean,
yeah.
It's just because it wasn't, I'd like to say, oh, yeah, it was after I was in ministry for a couple of years. I was 20 years old, and, the light just came on. But, the truth, probably 38, is when, I am part of, there's just part of it, part of the puzzle, not the main piece, where it's like, everything that. And two, I thought of, and I don't know how we are on time. We'll probably need to be wrapping it up pretty quick. But you see what happened. You talk about kids, and what happens a lot of times. I know I have 3 kids. I know I was the oldest in a family of 3 kids, and what I know it just happens just being around families with kids. Jealousy comes in, and usually it's jealousy for the baby because, everybody's picking up after the baby. Everybody's making up, ring for the baby. And we see that a lot in church, too, is people that have been seasoned Christians, you'd say, or been in that, they're like, and then they see, like, these baby Christians, people that just came in the church, just got saved or whatever, and they're like, man, everybody's like doing all this for them. Everybody's paying attention to them. Everybody's making a big deal about them. Well, how about me, what I'm doing over here? And it goes right along with that, of that whole, it's just that jealousy because, well, the reason that people's not doing all that for you anymore, we shouldn't have to be. We shouldn't have to be trying to help you walk or trying to, do that with you. So there should be some seasoning with that. There should be some growth with that. But as we know, and as we see a lot of times, there's people that have been saved or, church for 30 years and they're still baby Christians.
And the one simple kingdom principle is this. Heaven principle is that when you put other people first, everything works out for you.
Yep.
And if people could get that, what kind of world will we be living in? If you put others first, then everything works. Your bowl gets filled. Everything that you're looking for happens for you. Mm-hmm. And that has happened to me over and over and over. I even know a ministry that will not, and we might want to incorporate this in our ministry, but I know a ministry, a pretty prominent ministry, that will not promote their leaders unless they can take correction. That's their protocol. They will call somebody in that they feel is ready for a promotion and going to the next level in the ministry, whether that's pay or that's position, and they'll call them in and correct them. Mm-hmm. And how they respond to that correction, if they humble up and they take it and say, you're right, you're so right, I've blown that, I'll do whatever it takes to make it right, they get promoted right on the spot. If they take it bad and they're all poor about it and how dare you and how are you saying that about me, then they don't get the position and they don't get the promotion. I remember a pastor saying that's how they promote within their church. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It is. That's what you have no business leading people in a position where you would be correcting people if you can't even handle correction.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Exactly.
So I get that 100%. So. I think it's all good stuff. So we want to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
Let us know what you guys think. If there's something you have any questions, you can put it down in the comment section, or you can email us at my email is jimmy.fairlawnchurch@gmail.com. Mark's is mark.fairlawnchurch@gmail.com. You can let us know if you want to not put it in the comment section, but you want to email us privately. Some people like to do that. But we would love to hear from you if you guys have any advice on what our next podcast could be, or future podcast, or anything like that, or you have questions for us to answer next week. We would love to hear from you. We go on there and we read the comments. We do it ourselves. We don't just get Brandon to do it and, hey, Brandon, tell us. You know, we actually go on there and look at them ourselves, and a lot of times we'll respond. So please put comments in the section, and always appreciate just the ones of just, lifting us up and just thanking us and stuff like that. I want to thank those that do that, because that really means a lot. If you only get, negative feedback, it gets, it's like, oh my gosh, so thank you guys for the positive feedback as well.
Yes.
And anything else you want to say?
Yeah, please don't forget to put Pastor Jimmy's WWF name in the comments.
Yes.
Yeah, we want to know, what do you think a fitting name for him, or maybe a fitting name if we were a tag team. What do you think that? If we were a tag team, you being 5'8",
Good one.
me 6'3", 225 pounds of sheer rock muscle, and we got over here 24-inch pythons, 5'7", 24-inch pythons with a bell shape. Kind of,
Like Popeye.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
be interested in that. The
Yeah.
tag team names. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be. Maybe whoever's the winner of that, maybe we'll give away something. Maybe we'll give away
Yeah.
like a Fairlawn shirt or something like that for
Yeah.
someone.
Or an iPad or something. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. It's a
Maybe.
possibility of that. We'll
Possibility.
give you
Yeah.
Brandon's iPad.
Yeah.
When he's not looking, we can take it away from him and then
Sure.
hand it to you. And you guys
Absolutely.
would have to figure out what his password is. Brandon, what is your password on your phone and your iPad and all your electronics
What is
and
that?
your ATM card?
Turn the other cheek.
That's the password, ladies and gentlemen. Turn the other cheek.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us in the lobby. Hey, don't forget, if you don't have a church that you go to, or if you go to Fairlawn, don't forget 9 a.m. service, 11 a.m. service. We'd love to see you this Sunday. Pastor Josh is going to be speaking, so
Yes,
it's the first
excited.
time that he's going to be speaking here on a Sunday. So it's good stuff. We're going to be also announcing our new youth leader. And so it's good stuff. Good stuff. So
Love you
hope to
guys.
see you there. All right. Love y'all.